I'm Yoko, and sorry for the delay on this video, but a lot of stuff has been happening, including my dog needing surgery, which thank you so much to everyone who donated to the GoFundMe. All donations go directly towards paying back her $4,000 vet bill, which was over double the $1,500 estimate that we were given. Cujo is slowly healing, and the audio for this video is going to probably fluctuate in volume due to multiple recording sessions since she is very whiny right now, and I know I'm going to have to stop and pause and maybe even do this over a couple of days. I also want to thank my Patreon supporters who are on screen. They are also a great help in paying back these vet bills and feeding us and the pets, as well as stuff like our storage. It's been a little rough lately, so I really appreciate all the support. With all that said, it's year 27 of GalaxyClan time, and let's just hop right into an animatic section. Blood warning for the animatic, and we are heading back into the Dark Forest. Adderstripe was holding one of her training sessions in the Dark Forest with the rogues when Holostar appeared, reaching out to attack Stoneshell. She ran despite the rogues telling her to stay, and they could take him, but she ended up crossing right into ViperClan's section to the surprise of all cats. Butterflypaw shouted in annoyance at the trespassers, and Holostar growled, attacking her to her surprise as she called out to the cats that were closest to her, wondering why they didn't stop that from happening. But Gardenia Fluff and Ogrethorn were looking away from the scene. Looking around, quickly saw that rogues had followed their companion and were in combat with her warriors. Butterflypaw yowled as Holostar clawed one of her eyes, trying to use her powers in vain. But Serpentstar finally showed up, attacking Holostar. Butterflypaw watched in actual fear as other cats charged Holostar, and Serpentstar wailed as Holostar got a killing blow on Lilypatch, Serpentstar's mate. Holostar laughed and cried as he finally began to fade from his collective wounds. An unsettling scene. During the skirmish, Adderstripe and the rogues retreated, but some ViperClan cats actually took the opportunity to escape Butterflypaw's corner of the Dark Forest as well. Adderstripe came to a stop when she saw a kit exiting a dreamscape that had a very similar face to Syndicquil. But Ospreyclaw appeared, scooping up the kit and leaving before anything was said. Rainbowstar being confused as Ospreyclaw entered their dream holding their daughter. On another moon, Brave Hal made the risky decision to enter the Dark Forest, after making no progress in the living world. She ran into the rogue leader Max, who sounded tired as she asked why she was here and told her just to leave. Brave Hal stated that she knows the rogues want a home, and she did try to convince the clan cats to help, but at this point the rogues have made enemies of all the clans, and they will starve during leaf bears or be killed at this rate. Crocus Whisker cut in asking if Brave even remembered being with them all as a kit, before Alcyone took her and her siblings away. Brave Hal responded that she barely remembered, but she doesn't think that her siblings do at all. Not that it matters when a rogue killed her brother. Either way, she said they can't find a home here at this rate. Max yelled that they will, and her rogues are loyal to her and her cause, unlike Brave's mother, yelling, how dare she try to tell her to give up. Suddenly, Brave Hal gasped as Cedar Blaze ran, quickly slashing her throat. Adderstripe coldly stated not to listen to the lies of the StarClan cats, for they never wanted to help anyone besides their own. Brave Hal spit out that they are all fools led by a delusional spoiled brat as she faded. So yeah, we have our first StarClan double death. Brave Hal is dead, permanently, and so is Holostar. But for the living, sadly our first in StarClan is the 58-moon-old Pike. He did eventually get over his grief of losing Finchsting, and then was wanting to set a good example for younger cats. He cheered loudly at his kit's apprentice ceremonies and groomed Downey Pelt even though she complained. He did think every cat should be in charge of themselves, but then he broke protocol for no new cats order when he saved an old cat from being thrown into a lake. And he was wondering how J-Clan was doing, so I think his thoughts was more trying to convince himself that he shouldn't worry about others outside GalaxyClan, but he was failing. He had a very nice patrol of Sushi where they flowed like a stream without conflict, thinking together in this and forever always. And then the next moon, he followed J-Clan scent out of concern and was killed by a dog, despite the cat trying to warn him. And Sushi was on that patrol and had to watch that. He did also seem to really like Rowancaw, and I feel like they were on their way to becoming a poly, and might have just been waiting for the second litter to be a bit older. But speaking of his second litter, sadly the newly named Green Falcon died at 11 moons old. He was childish, confident with words, and a picky nest builder, and he died as an apprentice. As a kid, he went missing for a few days, so I feared that the rogues may have come back for him, but I think what actually might have happened is that Two Legs got him after he snuck out, due to the fact that the next moon, Two Legs ended up kidnapping some cats. As a kid, he also took a nap in his big brother Ibisf's nest. He was apprenticed to Granite Newt, and on their first patrol, he started an argument over a technique. With a sigh, Granite Newt kept his temper and sat down to explain his reasoning, where Greenpaw ended up apologizing. He was daydreaming about having a mate and kit someday, and when Pike died, he sang a song in memory at his vigil. And sadly, he also died to a dog when he was attacked and ambushed while on a peaceful stroll. And that is extra sad, not only because that's how his dad died, but because his mentor knows how to speak dog. So there's two possibilities. Greenpaw was bratty and never wanted to learn that, or Greenpaw did learn some dog speak, but it did not help him. Both, I think, are pretty sad, but I kind of think it was the same dog. And we're going out of death order, but I want to keep the family together, so next is his big brother. Caribou Speck died at 30 moons old, and he was the last death of the year chronologically, but as mentioned, I'm drawing him here, so he's with his family. Early on, he asked Sparrowance to show him some hunting techniques and maybe training, but she tried. Unfortunately, they were both tired and ended up snapping at each other. It was nothing serious, and both agreed to take some time to cool off. He followed the protocol of not inviting new cats this year, but felt bad leaving an abandoned kitty pet. He then went hunting with Swansong and one of his little sisters, and used an eagle as a scout when hunting with Sushi and Rowancaw. He was complimenting Ibisf's fighting techniques and seemed more involved with the clan as well as his family this year. But sadly, when out alone, he was ambushed and killed by a group of rogues. Which, considering he had been attacked last year and the rogues had tried and failed to kidnap his younger siblings, as well as another event right before this, pretty sure this was targeted. These rogues tend to take grudges as seen what they did to almost all of Swansong's family, and I'm so sad. For something less sad and a little funny though, Caribou Speck's type was older medicine cats apparently because he was also crushing on Chestnut Wolf, so he liked both of our doctors. So sad to see him go though. Next up is a new face, the 291-moon-old Zekrom Skitter, who was clever and a good storyteller. She was rescued by Pike, Sparrowance, and Pumpkin Glow from being thrown into a lake, which was against the no inviting new cats order, but Rainbow Star let it slide because she was an ancient cat and had head damage. Plus, she was a distant relative of Chris Drizzle, like Claw was, so that brought up some memories. And surprisingly, Zekrom Skitter actually lived quite a bit and even managed to heal from the head damage. She envied the deputy position, which was kind of funny despite being almost 300 moons old, and was chatting with the cats guarding camp. Luckshine had stumbled upon her looking at the stars of wonder in her eyes, and Chestnut Wolf was also spending time with her, which makes sense since Medicine Cat. But eventually Zekrom Skitter faded more and more until one day she was found dead in her nest. Pleasantly surprised she actually ended up having at least something to her character, since I fully expected she would die in like 1 moon. But we all know GalaxyClan hates having elders for some reason. Proven by the fact that Roostertail died at 121 moons old and was never actually retired. He started this year by finding a kit that sadly was already hunting with its ancestors, with him saying a prayer and burying it. Then he got an apprentice, which I feel like he specifically asked for. He's been feeling less needed after all, and they chased out a small dog, and he was really showing off his hunting, offering support for others as well. He reported a horde of 2-legs, which he was probably extra passionate about since his apprentice had been stolen in her kit hood, but then he was caught outside clan territory talking to himself. He also tried to tell his apprentice a tale about a rogue that stole a secret from a ghost about the sun blinking, but whatever message he was attempting to say went over her head. Also pretty sure that's a soul reference from the books. Then he ended up getting white cough, and he never recovered, dying a moon later to it. He never retired, but he really didn't seem to want to, but that was our last death, so on to our living cats. Rainbow Star is 100 moons old now, and Syndicquil is 82 moons old. These two had one baby girl this year, and they brought her home and immediately got stuck in a storm with her, but everyone's fine. Then it was found out that she had similar powers to Rainbow Star, so she was their little princess. As for Rainbow Star, they had a ban on new cats this year, but that was broken 3 times technically, but one was a cat that we already knew. One was Zekrom Skitter, and the third one Syndicquil invited, but we'll get back to that. So on Moon 2 of this year, 2-legs kidnapped 4 of our cats, and we actually managed to get 3 of them back in 2 moons with a combination of the search feature and good luck having them just randomly return. So in universe, Rainbow Star was using their dream powers to try to find and guide them home. However, we never found the 4th cat. I believe the head injury that Rainbow Star got from Cedar Blaze last year might be affecting their powers at times, or that cat was just too far to reach. Now, using these powers to the dream-shaping extent does exhaust Rainbow Star, so they were a bit more tired for the first half of the year, at least with everything going on. They did promise to take care of the clan with their lives, and they helped the other clans by helping lost apprentices and kits. Though for one of those, they went to help a lost Viper Clan kit, but heard a patrol and turned away, not realizing Viper Clan cats were watching them with fury. They took over training Roostertail's apprentice after he got sick and then died, and they were a bit sillier towards the end of the year, bouncing around and wanting to shrink to infiltrate an anthill. Now, as for Syndicquil, he was comforting his new kit after a hard day after hearing she accidentally ran into his ex. He stole some prey from J-Clan while out with Rainbow Star, and I don't know if they saw that. Then he felt wild and free when running with their mate, like he was going to burst with unexpected happiness. He gave clovers to his son and realized Cliff Creek was feeling a little bad about the new sibling situation. I think after this, they smoothed things over, both Syndicquil and Rainbow Star at least. Later in the year, Rainbow Star was bonding with Cliff Creek over something small. Syndicquil broke the rules when inviting someone this year, and Rainbow Star did some dream investigating to find that cat seemed okay. Interestingly, while on patrol with Ibisf and an apprentice, Syndicquil told a story that long ago, cats roamed without a clan, fending for themselves. Leaf Bear picked off the elderly, weak, and unlucky one by one, but one cat opened their heart and offered shelter, with Pelt sharing heat. They became the first leader and the first clan. And Syndicquil was originally a kitty pet, so either someone in clan told him that story, or maybe he knew clans existed before joining, or he just made that up. Interestingly, that's not the backstory of GalaxyClan, and if it is the backstory of the Mountain Clan specifically, Syndicquil may have learned this elsewhere. And on a suspicious note, Syndicquil obscured his scent trail when leaving camp, and I rolled on that. Syndicquil is attempting to find Stoneshell, but knows the clan hates her, and the rest of the rogues. I'm also just going to list a bunch of crushes this year, even if it's small ones, so Syndicquil has a small crush on Rowancaw and Wishkeeper, but he loves Rainbow Star a lot, even going out of his way to catch Rainbow Star's favorite prey. Now onto the deputy. Fawnfoot is now 54 moons old, and she became mates with the now 69-moon-old Luckshine on the last moon of the year. Unfortunately, Fawnfoot has also turned bloodthirsty this year, and let's start with her. At the start of the year, Fawnfoot was looking forward to a challenge, and then Milkhair screwed up a patrol when trying to show off. And Fawnfoot has an interesting relationship with Milkhair. She has a crush on her, but apparently Fawnfoot has opinions that Milkhair disagrees with, but still respects. Later, Fawnfoot helped save the buried Wishkeeper and then got an apprentice. She didn't realize it was going to rain and ended up sending a different apprentice out on a tracking assessment, which wasn't the best for a new apprentice. She trained her apprentice for a few moons, but then her tail was badly damaged by a fox. While injured, she was wondering if Chestnut Wolf had any prophecies, and once healed, she was fantasizing about leading her clan into a victorious battle. And then her tail was once again badly injured, this time by falling rocks. She also drew blood during battle training and coldly said it was an accident. And Fawnfoot and Syndicquil do not like each other. Syndicquil scoffed at one of her suggestions this year, which I think was about hunting down the rogues, especially considering they killed even more of her kin outside the clan, including her mom Hazyflick in Moss Clan, and two of her dead sister's kits that are in Viper Clan. She also really did not like the cat that he invited to the clan. Every muscle in her body would tense when that cat walked by. And after pushing Rainbow Star and reminding them we weren't supposed to invite random cats, she actually got that cat to be sent away. Chloe got the kit that Chloe saved in the rogue raid as an apprentice. Luckshine also noticed that Milkhair, Renoise, and Chloe's apprentice were training without warming up, and Chloe redirected them to stretching. Luckshine reassured Clover Apprentice after she had admitted to bad dreams, and then Chloe was taking pride in how well-run Clover's patrols always are. On the last moon of the year, in a bright spot, Luckshine and Fawnfoot finally announced their commitment as mates. On the same moon, Luckshine went on a solo patrol and thought about if Chloe was doing a good job pursuing what was important to Clover, finding peace with Clover self. Chloe may not be flawless, but Chloe's trying hard and believes in the path that Chloe's taking. As for random other crushes, Luckshine has a small one on Minnow Spirit, medicine cat time now. Starting with the 60-moon-old Scaleheart, she found some cardinal feathers this year. She was struggling as the only medicine cat during the early days of Chestnut Wolf's litter, but she collected moss with Daisy Billow and did her best. She gave Moss Clan some burdock and was humming a tune that she heard near Two Leg Place, possibly during her own attempts at finding the missing cats. As time passed, she went back to playful and was bouncing excitedly at a half-moon meeting. She was also thinking about taking on a new apprentice and had the urge to wander. At one point, she scented raspberries across the border, and a J-Clan patrol hissed before recognizing her. When they explained they couldn't spare any berries, she nodded and thanked them anyway. She later played a game of collecting herbs with Chestnut Wolf, purring and playfully shoving each other with mouths full of herbs. But towards the end of the year, she was looking out for hawks. She also let Sparrowance share troubles of her, which is nice when Skillheart had worked with her dad Oleander spots. She was also sharing nest material with Toadkit and one of Chestnut Wolf's boys, so that's adorable. And she was chatting with Rainbow Star's daughter about her potential warrior name. She seems to hang out with the kits a lot. Next up is Chestnut Wolf, who is now 50 moons old, and her mate Sneezetuft, who is now 54 moons old. And these two ended up having free kits, with Sneezetuft waiting eagerly to meet them, crawling in and purring and licking them once Chestnut Wolf called him in. Together, they had moments of hunting for herbs together and being cute as always. But let's start with Chestnut Wolf's ear. She was sharing tongues with her sister Leopard Spots and apparently cleared up a misunderstanding with Melcare, and it seems they get along a bit better. She identified a berry for Moral Nudge, and on multiple occasions, she tried to find moss just to find an animal dug it up. And on the moon that Brave Hal died, Chestnut Wolf yearned to fight, and Ospreyclaw was also yowling her woes into the endless darkness, so Ospreyclaw witnessed that and was probably who ended up telling Chestnut Wolf. After this, Chestnut Wolf was acting suspicious, and one of her kids actually noticed how she knew a lot about the Dark Forest. She was playing with a kitty pet named Cubby for some reason, and she insisted on only treating cats who needed it when her son had a small injury, and I think she was just stressed and predicting conflict with the rogues. Cats ended up getting all kinds of coughs that she was also stressed taking care of, and she was grateful to Scaleheart. Random crush, she likes Bumblebuzz and barely Sparrowance. Again, don't think that will go anywhere, but mentioning it anyway. She actually also really dislikes Wishkeeper, which I'll try to fix. I can't find anything this year, but last year she apparently was complaining he wasn't helpful. Also, Chestnut Wolf motivated Syndicquil to do something difficult, might be rogue related. On that same moon, Sneezetuft was also respecting Syndicquil's opinion despite disagreeing. Speaking of Sneezetuft, he helped Crane Kit when she tripped over her paws, and he was looking forward to a gathering back when Moss Clan was being secretive, and I think he just really wanted to check on his family, where sadly his mom died later this year. He stopped Wilbur from going near Two Legs and was batting pebbles at a badger with Rainbow Star. He was worried Melcare was overworking herself and admired her strength to go on when she admitted things were rough for her lately. Loved seeing Sneezetuft bond with his mate's siblings. He did get green cough, which turned into just a running nose until finally getting healed. And then he went out alone to work on his mental map of the territory. He was also seen patrolling with his sister Fawnfoot more often lately, and he really doesn't like Sushi for some reason, so I will be working on fixing that. Now into the Mediator Den. We're starting with 57 Moon-Old Minnow Spirit because Ice Dash is the cat that is still missing. And I have to point out that while he was grieving the death of his mate, both the other mediators were kidnapped by Two Legs. Cliff Creek got back quick, but this poor boy. Eventually, he did pick himself out of his nest with a fresh conviction in his heart, but he's also been wondering about Two Legs a lot, and it's clear that he's worried about Ice Dash. Though towards the end of the year, he was wondering if Two Leg life was really that bad, perhaps assuming she stayed as a kitty pet. He's waiting to watch the sunset one moon, and then mediate a couple cats, including Renoise and Moral Nudge, as well as Pumpkin Glow and Wilbur. He was doing some shipping. He couldn't keep up with Fawnfoot and had to snap her out of staring darkly at a clanmate. He also did mediating with Viper Clan, calmly talking to one of their cats, and then a moon later, discussing herb gathering disputes with them. He told Rowancaw that she could count on him in a difficult situation, which was the moon after Pike died. Rainbow Star apparently posed a crazy fury to Minnow Spirit and then chatted about it, and I wonder if that was about Ice Dash, Rogues, Syndicquil, or something else entirely. He accidentally splashed Wishkeeper in a puddle, but luckily Wishkeeper loves water and only laughed about it. He and Luckshine do like each other, but it seems Luckshine has chosen Fawnfoot, and Minnow Spirit could use some healing time anyway. Now on to Cliff Creek, who is now 36 moons old. He gave a badger ride to Hickory Kit and was discussing conflict resolution strategies with Minnow Spirit. Then he got stolen by Two Legs and hoped the clan was doing okay without his help. And we looked for a kit first with the search feature, but Cliff Creek was the one who returned all on his own in the game, so in canon, Rainbow Star was able to contact him, and Cliff Creek helped and brought the kit home too. Apparently leaping from a rock and getting a sprain on the way home too. When he did get home, I think he got really jealous of his new sister who had dream powers, and at one point he scoffed loudly at one of her suggestions. But on that same moon, he apologized to Syndicquil, admitting that he made a mistake. Then later, Syndicquil gave him the clovers. I think with the whole Adderstripe dying and then getting kicked out and separated from his siblings as a kit situation, Cliff Creek has abandonment issues and is afraid of being replaced. I'm going to see how he does with his little sister next year, but as of now, he doesn't like her. Beyond that, he also tried to mediate Renoise and Moral Nudge, as well as helped Luckshine and Fawnfoot get together. He was humming a tune that he heard while in Two Leg Place, and he did actually make an argument worse once, but at one point he also thought that he was the funniest cat around. Towards the end, he was exhausted by his clanmates' bickering, which is probably about the rogues, which would exhaust him more considering Stoneshell. On that note, he respects Fawnfoot's opinion despite disagreeing with it, and he ended the year with a running nose. He was also defending the clan with Wishkeeper at a gathering at one point, and then Wishkeeper was venting probably about Ice Dash to him. Cliff Creek actually has a ton of small crushes right now, ranging from Chestnut Wolf, which is a slither, to some others like Sparrowance, Melkhair, and Wilbur. On the Wilbur note, they apparently trained some battle moves together, and she was complimenting him constantly throughout that. Here's hoping Cliff Creek has better luck next year, now into the Warriors. Swan Song is now the most senior warrior at 114 moons old. Sadly, his close friend Roostertail passed, as well as his remaining mate and 2 grandchildren in ViperClan, which, in the early year, he had a stilted attempt at conversation with ViperClan, possibly wanting to hear about them, and it seems they didn't tell his grandchildren about their heritage because later one of them was reacting really badly to a GalaxyClan patrol on his first day out, possibly when he got the news that he wasn't just a ViperClan cat. That is the current only living one. In this clan, though, Swansong luckily has 3 grandkids, and one of them helped him remember a word that he couldn't remember for the life of him. He went to talk to Ice Dash before she was kidnapped, but she was kind of annoyed. He was probably trying to ask if she's had any luck getting in contact with Moss Clan, since they were keeping the other clans in the dark at first. Then he got an apprentice, who he whispered quiet encouragement to, but his daughter Fawnfoot assigned a scenting assignment on her first task, and once the rain started, Swansong went to call it off, finding his apprentice lost and in her own head and overthinking. He did his best with her and ended up testing both her and another apprentice on how to catch a thrush, being pleased with both answers. He chased off that kitty pet cubby one moon, and towards the end of the year, he did have a nice chat with Moss Clan. I feel like he might be a bit worried seeing how angry and aggressive Fawnfoot is becoming with the whole rogue situation, considering his past. I'm hoping he retires next year, and I'm sad him and Roostertail can't be elder buddies. Moving on to the now 92-moon-old Wishkeeper, he's been doing better. He was evaluating how he was going to sharpen his battle skills. He did get buried on patrol of Fawnfoot and Wilbur, but they quickly came running to free him. He did seem to go to Cliff Creek when he was missing Ice Dash, but then he felt proud of himself and had a fantastic hunt with Syndicquil. He was leaping into fallen leaves with Bumblebee, who was having a rare moment of silliness, it seemed. And then he trained well with Moral Nudge and Figgle Moff. He was taking on extra patrols and helping Leopard Spots train her apprentice. At the end of the year, he was encouraging cats to fortify their dens, possibly to prepare for another rogue raid. He was also sparring with Rainbow Star and later made them laugh again and again. And it seems he's getting along better with his leader. On to Granite Newt, who is now 89 moons old. As mentioned, he got Greenpaw as an apprentice and kept his temper when he explained his techniques, while Greenpaw was being bratty. Granite Newt was thankful for the safety of camp, but then was stressing over possible disasters. Then he heard someone say something that reminded him of his lost home. He felt so guilty when a dog of all things killed his apprentice, and he's a very anxious cat in general, having nightmares about two-leg traps and later having a very awkward training patrol with one of Green Falcon's sisters, where she was probably very upset with him. Then he felt overwhelmed on a solo patrol where his nerves overwhelmed him. Interestingly, while Roostertail was still alive, Granite Newt wasn't standing for any apparent slander of him, and he probably really respected the senior warrior. He's also been listening to Daisy Billow's big plans for a day, and I just really want him to be happy for once. Next up is Renoise, who is now 88 moons old, and she's one of the cats that got kidnapped by Two Legs, making it back in 2 moons, and thus not getting fixed based on my rules. Most of the cats that got kidnapped were pretty close to Rainbow Star, so that stressed them out. Side note, Renoise just noticed how beautiful Rainbow Star's eyes are and has a very small one-sided crush now. While gone, she was missing the warmth of the warrior's den, and she still really likes Moral Nudge, but he snapped at her one moon telling her to stop padding after him like a kit. But they seem to have made up, and I'll get more into what might have been on his mind when we get to him. For the positive statuses, she was showing him hunting techniques, and she realized she loved spending time with him, and she reassured him about something that was bothering him. Again, not the happiest that he snapped at her, but I think they can still make it work. Renoise dislocated her joint, but was still trying to train with younger warriors, and she was giving advice to Granite Newt. She saw a large dog while out with 2 of the Sushi Pike kits, and it spotted them, leading to them having to scatter, but let's move on to a new face. This is Sparrowance, a 79-moon-old she-cat who is charismatic and a beloved kit sitter. and she's the daughter of Hazyflick, who was Swansong's mate. Now, Sparrowance was Hazyflick's daughter from a previous relationship, and she doesn't really see Swansong as a dad, but she does see Fawnfoot and Sneezetuft as her siblings. And when Hazyflick died in Moss Clan, she decided to join GalaxyClan since Sparrowance now had no family in Moss Clan. She had a conversation with GalaxyClan on the moon before joining, where she probably discussed her mother's death as well as her nieces and nephews that were in GalaxyClan, which was probably why she joined. Upon joining, the entire news about how Moss Clan was homeless at the time because of rogues was relayed, but luckily Moss Clan did later get their home back. Now, sadly, it was decided on stream that she joined this year, so there's really not a lot to say about what she did in GalaxyClan this year in canon. I did generate a status for each moon, but it wasn't anything big. She was setting a good example for younger cats a lot, and she was happy it seemed that she was someone others could talk to, so it does seem like she was hanging out with Sneezetuft's kits. I hope she gets along with her siblings in the next year because they did get along before Fawnfoot and Sneezetuft decided to switch clans. I will say she was probably also a vocal cat against the person that Syndicquil invited the clan, but moving on. Moral Nudge is now 74 moons old, and he was walking on the edge of a tall cliff, and then suffered a bellyache after being dared to eat a beetle, which I wonder if that was one of Scaleheart's collection. He wanted Chestnut Wolf to identify a berry, and I noticed he lost his crush on Renoise, and that's when he told her not to pad after him like a lost kit. He was also judging her, but that was when she was training with a dislocated joint. He did get the crush back, but before we get into that, let's possibly explain his attitude he had. So that was after Sparrowance would have joined with the information on the rogues. Later, he was caught by someone who I actually think was Scaleheart, considering he made a rude remark about the clan to her that moon. But he was caught trying to go into Moss Clan territory, the territory where the rogues had been chased out of. But at the time, that's where rogues were seen in a big way. Moral Nudge has a personal backstory with the rogues, saying as he was chased out by them and used to live on his own. I firmly believe that he is on the we must chase them out and get revenge on the rogue side. Also evidenced by Fawnfoot thinking he stole one of her ideas. And during that snippy moment with Renoise, he was trying to focus on what he felt was more important. But then his crush came back, and it's clear he does like her. He suggested teamwork with her and felt it was nice to get out and have space just to focus with a good training partner to work on things with. And he can't help but smile whenever Renoise is around, so I'm really hoping he can just mellow out on his revenge thoughts and just go be happy instead. Though, admittedly, I am a bit biased because I want happy Renoise. What is it with Renoise being related or involved with edgy boys? But onto a new couple. Because 74-moon-old Rowancaw actually became mates with 61-moon-old Sushi, and the timing was actually really bad on paper. It was the moon after Pike died. But based on the fact they all liked each other and it was clear that Sushi was indeed grieving Pike, I think they were on their way to a poly relationship anyway, and after his death, Sushi sought comfort in Rowancaw. On Sushi's side of things this year, her kit was kidnapped by Two Legs, and she was grateful they got returned. She cheered loudly at their apprentice ceremonies and reassured Hickory Paw. She caught a rabbit on a solo patrol and was really getting along with Pike. She was surprised to find herself enjoying Wishkeeper's company, so I guess they weren't really buddy-buddy last year. And she was on the patrol where Pike died, and the fact it was because he followed J-Clan scent really isn't helping her not liking J-Clan. She wondered if anyone would miss her if she disappeared, but I think her head cleared and she focused on the kits, giving one of them gold feathers probably in memory of Pike, and she was exhausted patrolling and then buried herself with work after Green Falcon's death. As a kit, she had stumbled upon him looking at the stars with wonder. And then rogues ambushed her and 3 of her daughters, but they fought them off. Sadly, later, that was probably why Caribou Speck got murdered specifically. Which is extra sad when one of her last thoughts about him was that she didn't know how talented he was and that she was proud. She later caught a common buzzard after thinking if it was vultures or buzzards that the clan cats respected. And she was a little annoyed that she had to explain the difference to Rowancaw, but Cliff Creek did indeed say Sushi was right. As for Rowancaw, she found a dead kit with Roostertail and was hoping to guide her clanmates down the right path. She was sharing tongues with Zekrumpskitter the moon that she died and ran into a badger den of all things with Sushi. Badgers leave this girl alone, and after some discussion, these two have decided to have one last litter, with Rowancaw being the biological mom, partially because Rowancaw wanted her mom, Bubbling Mark, to be able to see them, and Sushi felt better knowing that she wouldn't be the one giving birth. So Rowancaw is expecting right now. The donor is a kitty pet named Grouse, and after this, no more Sushi babies. They will be born in 2 moons. Also, Sushi does have some crushes on other cats such as Renoise and Melcaire, but it's really small. Notably, Rodencaw also likes Melcaire too, though. Speaking of, here she is at 50 moons old now. She tried to show off when patrolling with Fawnfoot, but ended up messing things up. Then she followed J-Clam's scent to a cat in a tree and chased the dog away with her sister Leopard Spots. She got heat exhaustion and at one point after healing was learning about Patchwing of all cats. She killed a mouse and wondered what it was thinking of. It was too late to ask though, and she called it a moustery, little punster. She was also on the patrol that saw Pike die, and then she got an apprentice. Towards the end of the year, she accidentally trespassed in the Moss Clan territory, which, let's be real, she was looking for a cross-clan mate, Wheatheart, who she did seem worried about and a little distracted over in the beginning of the year, where Moss Clan was being more secretive. She posed a crazy fury to Hickory Kit and also had her engage in a tall tale, so I think she was rambling over not knowing what was going on. Interestingly, Melcaire was baffled by something Lookshine said about religion, so maybe Melcaire is a bit less religious than others. She also disagreed but respected Rainbow Star's opinion, and it might have been about not inviting more cats. She's actually the first cat that encountered that kitty pet cubby. She was also telling Sushi romantic tales of old, and she does have a crush on Sushi and Rodencaw, so that's a non-zero possibility of happening. I'm not quite sure how she's dealing with her cross-clan relationship right now. She was complimented by another clan at the gathering, though. Again, most likely specifically Wheatheart. And Leopard Spots was a little jealous that she wasn't complimented, probably oblivious to the dating part. Sparrow Dance was also jealous of that on that moon, but for different reasons. Now, as for her sister Leopard Spots, she got a stomach ache, but it didn't stop her from chasing out a dog with Melcaire. Then she was sharing tongues with Chestnut Wolf and bragging about how good of a hunter she was. She chuckled guiding a lost J-Clan apprentice home, and then she got one of her nephews as an apprentice. Sneezetuff watched in pride, knowing that she was a good choice. That's really cute. As time went on, her apprentice got a bit more edgy, though, and is shutting her out when she tries to ask what's wrong. She also killed a rabbit on J-Clan territory and got chased over the border by a hissing patrol. She still does like Figgle Moff, and she doesn't have a crush on Bumblebee right now, but apparently they got into a fight about whether she would take on a new mate if one of them died or went missing. So I know in-game they probably liked each other at one point, but in canon I'd rather shift that to say Bumblebee was referring to if she dated his brother, and he wasn't happy that she'd be able to move on. But speaking of Figgle Moff, he's 40 moons old now, and he was caught outside the territory and saw a wandering two legs on the moon cats got kidnapped. So I think he had been trying to track them. He later thought he was hearing things and then got startled by a shrew on patrol with Wilbur. Then he trained with his dad in Moral Nudge and was thinking about his life choices. He hoped Fawnfoot wouldn't assign him to a patrol and then got a stomach ache. As mentioned, he still likes Leopard Spots, but he has a smaller crush on Chestnut Wolf, who is just the prettiest cat in clan, along with Sushi, I guess. Him and Syndicquil were making fun of each other in more of an insulting way than playful banter, and he was worried about Moral Nudge's health and safety. And him and Bumblebee always have something to share with each other, so that's nice. Speaking of, moving on to Bumblebee, he's been very argumentative. Early in the year, he's arguing with a Moss Clan cat, probably over how shady they were being. But then he was training with his younger warriors and taking pride in how well his patrols were run. He heard a kitty pet abandoned crying for help, but listening to the no new cats order, he said it was none of their business and guided Caribou Speck and Hickory Paw away. He did briefly jump in leaves of his dad, but he actually has a decent dislike towards Wishkeeper, and later was snapping irritably on patrol with him, Granite Newt, and Greenpaw. He was making sure Toadpaw wasn't slacking off and was telling a patrol a story of his ancestors until one of the youths pulled him aside and coldly reminded him to focus on his duties. Then he argued with a patrol with Ibisf and Greenpaw. He did take control coordinating some fighting training with Wilbur, who he does still like, and apparently she overheard him crying over something that everyone else downplayed the severity of. Then he bolted to warn camp when he saw a large dog. Bumblebee is serious and follows rules to a fault. He does not seem to get along with young cats. He thought one of Chestnut Wolf's sons was acting overly dramatic as a kit. Then as an apprentice, apparently Bumblebee got tricked into doing one of his chores. Then he got annoyed at the ego of another one. He also shared an embarrassing story about Rainbow Star's daughter that he was asked not to share. But interestingly, Rainbow Star apparently goes to Bumblebee for guidance. And Syndicquil was also nervous about something Bumblebee said. So yeah, he's a bit rude this year, but it seems Rainbow Star respects him at least. Moving on to more new mates, 39-moon-old Pumpkin Glow became mates with 36-moon-old Wilbur at the end of the year. And in the 2 extra moons I played, Pumpkin Glow actually came out as a trans man, so while technically he hasn't come out yet, I'm still going to use he, him for him in this video. Starting with Pumpkin Glow, he was wondering how Ice Dash was doing before she got kidnapped, and then had a stilted conversation with ViperClan. He also wants to be deputy, and I think he wants to be like his mom, Jackdaw Slash, and feels a bit of guilt with the fact that he briefly trained with the rogues. He did break protocol when he saved Zekrom Skitter, and then was having a hard day. He seemed to be keeping more to himself, watching cats go about their day, and I think guilt was bugging him. He also tripped and got bruised training with Caribou Speck, but then he confessed and became mates with Wilbur, though he's worried others are judging him. He seems insecure and attempting to rebuild himself, if that makes sense. There's also the added gender stuff considering he came out later. He also does have a crush on Sushi, like everyone, and a small one on Daisy Billow, but now as for Wilbur, she helped save Wishkeeper when he was buried and was telling a story of her ancestors to Pumpkin Glow and Moral Nudge after Sneeze Tuft stopped her from going near Two Legs. Her love language seems to be battle training. She trained with Cliff Creek, Bumblebuzz, and Pumpkin Glow. She also likes Fawnfoot a bit, and she was distracted thinking about a potential StarClan dream, putting her thoughts in order while alone. She was watching Pumpkin Glow show off his hunting techniques with eyes that were a bit too admiring, and I hope these two are cute next year. Next up is 31-moon-old Ibisf, and he actually rolled to be Aeroflex, which means his romantic orientation can fluctuate from feeling no romance, some romance, or just straight up feeling romance, in simple terms. It's a spectrum. But early in the year, Green Kit was napping in his nest, and Downy Kit was pestering him for a badger ride, and then he got another little sibling as an apprentice. It's just so cute how he was hanging out with them. His apprentice did get hurt fighting an eagle, but he did his best. He did briefly get yellow cough, but he's fine. Though, as the year went on, it seems he was involved with the group of cats that want revenge on the rogues. I mean, his sister did chase one out at 6 moons old, probably with his help, and then they consistently kept targeting his family, including killing Caribou Speck, sadly. But on the moon that Moral Nudge was sneaking to the Moss Clan border, Ibisf was helping him hide from a clanmate. Then he was loitering on Viper Clan's border, a clan that had been more recently targeted by the rogues, and have started to fight back even, and he wanted to speak to a medicine cat. Maybe Chestnut Wolf, who's on board with this, but moving on for now. Daisy Billow is now 28 moons old, and she hasn't switched to being a medicine cat, partially because she ended up getting an apprentice. She was snoring loudly on a moon that Roostertail was asking an important question, and my only visual is him talking to her when not knowing she's asleep, and then all of a sudden he hears a snore. Then she collected moss of Scaleheart and attempted to help Chestnut Wolf, but that's when animals were digging it up. Then she got a running nose and was guarding camp. She was butting heads playfully with her apprentice after they watched some bucks doing it, and she seems to be doing her best with him. Her apprentice was also pranking her dad Granite Newt, and I hope that was playful family fun. She also chased off that kitty pet Cubby. Dude just stays on our territory this year. And she has a mutual crush on one of the Sushi Pike kits, which they are a bit young, but we'll see when they get older if anything happens. Next up is the 25-moon-old Sparrowance, and with Sparrow Ice joining, we do have 2 sparrows in clan, but oh well. She tried suggesting shaking branches to shake out squirrels, but the patrol just came back shivering. She's also playing Moss Ball with the kits, and was one of the cats to save Zekrom Skitter, who she later was also pranking. She chased off the rogue Crocus Whisker, and she did snap at Caribou Speck when they were tired from a long day's work, but as mentioned, they agreed to take some time to cool off. She, Granite Newt, and Greenpaw found another rogue, with Sparrowdance scenting it and running down the scree to see what was up before they fled. Then Sparrowdance was wanting to take the day off, but on another moon, she was bragging about her exploits to anyone that would listen. And towards the end of the year, she was hoping to find an opportunity to slip back into her nest, because I think she's been sneaking off to see a Viper Clan cat named Birdtooth, and that was why she was jealous when Melkir got attention at a gathering. It seems Birdtooth wasn't there or didn't give her the attention she wanted. I will say Sparrowdance also likes Chestnut Wolf. I think her and Birdtooth aren't the most serious right now, but we'll see. Now moving on to Sushi and Pike's litter. Gonna go in order of who graduated this year, but I'll probably make it the order in game lineup next year. So first up is the newly named 15-moon-old strict Downey Pelt, who has natural intuition. As a kid, she spent a long time talking with Toadkit and was impressed by her insight. She pestered Ibisf for a badger ride and was loudly complaining as Pike groomed her until she was able to scurry off and get her apprentice name and her new mentor, Luckshine. She started as a cold apprentice, and on her first patrol, the two broke out in the yowls and caterwauls as they chased out a small dog. On the moon that Pike died, she was asking Sushi for advice, and Downeypaw slept next to Pike the entire vigil. She found Lily of the Valley on a walk and decided to keep it. She was also who had coldly reminded Bumblebuzz to focus on his duties when he was telling a story, and I think that was both because she was grieving Pike and also to throw his own strictness back at him. since he's rude to her and her siblings a lot. She had been hiding behind a bush ready to pounce on Greenpaw one moon, and she kept thinking Green Falcon was only sleeping, admitting to Luckshine that she was having a hard time sleeping, which Luckshine listened to sympathetically, offering support and time away from Downey Paw's troubles. She was honored for her enterprise when she got her name at 12 moons old, the first of her siblings alongside one other. She was awkward and cold when trading with Granite Newt, still grieving her brother, and then she was on that patrol where Sushi and her siblings fought off rogues. She was conducting a rigorous training session for younger warriors, apparently, and that had to be her other siblings, and her thoughts were plagued with bad memories while alone. At the end of the year, she was reinforcing the nursery, probably due to Rowancaw expecting, and memories of Downey Pelt's kithood. I think she's the older sister role of the litter, if that makes sense. She's strict and bossy and seems to look after them, but she's dealing with a lot of grief and pressure, it seems. And she's the one that has a current mutual crush on Daisy Below. Next is the grumpy, newly named Toad Freckle, who is a den builder, and she actually started bloodthirsty, so grumpy is an improvement. Her mentor was her big brother Ibisf, and I think his goofiness is what moved her away from bloodthirsty. On her first patrol, she made a mistake on a simple move that he thought that she mastered, which, side note, I think they were apprenticed slightly late into the moon because they were waiting on their missing sibling, and that she might have started some basic training in camp, but she ran away from the training grounds, and he found her crying in camp, saying that she'll never be ready to be a warrior. But he dropped into a crouch, nudging her, and was making goofy expressions until she gave in and they played like kids. And that is so cute. And on that same moon, apparently 6-moon-old Toadpaw chased out the rogue Laurel, so Ibisf definitely helped out with that. She tripped, but only her pride was bruised, and she was wondering about night hunting since one of her siblings was talking about it. And at this point, I noticed she went from bloodthirsty to fierce. She fought an eagle for its prey and ended up getting a beak bite, which, while healing, she was practicing reciting the warrior code from memory and rolling up moss balls of Pike. She stared at Pike's vigil longingly, but didn't feel the right to join in for some reason. And then she snapped at someone for disagreeing with Chestnut Wolf. Then she fell climbing a tree and got bruised. She perked up seeing an apprentice on a Mossclan patrol, but had to scurry off to help Ibisf mark the border before she could say hi. She was also trying to get on patrols with Sushi, and she was named at 12 moons old for her hard work alongside Downey Pelt, and was eager for her ceremony to be over so she could go back to work making sure her clan was safe. Then she fought off rogues with Sushi and was reinforcing the Elder's Den, which we don't have any elders, but maybe it's in preparation as a safe shelter in general, or for possibly later Swan Song's retirement. Like Downey Pelt, she seems like a serious protective cat of this litter. Next up is newly named Nervous Crane Dapple, who is very clever. Shortly after the rogue attack, she was going through an angsty phase, but I don't think it lasted long, as she was playing Moss Ball with one of Chestnut Wolf's boys and made sure not to mess up a pretty symbol that she saw Rainbow Star draw on the ground. She's always been nervous, and she was apprenticed to Swan Song. Fawnfoot had roused her early and told her that she was going to be assessed tracking Swan Song, who was posing as an enemy warrior, which, bad timing considering it rained later while she was doing that, and also the fact that rogues had recently attacked us, and the fact Two Legs had just kidnapped cats. So while alone, she was searching, and she was struggling to decide. She was getting lost in questions like, what if she couldn't find him before the time limit? Who decided there should be a time limit? Would she be better as a medicine cat? She spent so much time second-guessing herself that Swan Song's arrival startled her, but he was just calling off the assessment since it had started raining. She tried to do too much at once and asked Greenpaw's mentor Granite Newt for advice. When Pike died, she slipped out of camp to visit his grave and was seen crying in her nest later. She asked Downey Pelt for help as well while she was being assessed, and she added that there was a great vantage point to pounce on a thrush if the wind wasn't against them, impressing Swan Song. Side note, her and Swan Song were also swapping pelt grooming techniques, which I found cute. She had a very strange dream and then fought off rogues of Sushi, Downey Pelt, and Toad Freckle. She fidgeted and tried to hide her face when she was named at 14 moons old for her vigilance, quickly scurrying back into the crowd and hoping that will be her last ceremony she ever has. Then she got stuck in a storm and got frostbite, so she's a little ball of anxiety, but she's doing her best. We'll see how she heals next year. Next up is newly named Righteous Alpaca Shard, who is a skilled mediator, and she is the one that got kidnapped at 5 moons old by Two Legs. She was desperately looking for her parents. She was immediately brought back next moon in time for her apprenticeship by Cliff Creek, and honestly, based on her skills, I'm a little surprised she didn't want to be his apprentice. Also, since later she was also chatting with Minnow Spirit about clan news. Even though she was excited to be an apprentice, it took some coaxing by Sushi. She was apprenticed to Roostertail, and they went hunting at night after the rain passed, using Roostertail's skills to take advantage of the growing gloom and potentially passing on the Hollow Star techniques of training with closed eyes. She dutifully followed the warrior code and chased out a small dog with Roostertail and Rowancaw. She asked the grumpy Bumblebuzz for help after trying to do too much at once. And Sushi gave her gold feathers after Pike stuff, also defending one of Alpaca Paw's claims during some kind of argument. She had a bad fall, getting bruised, and then stumbled over her words when talking to Figgle Moff. She was concerned when running into a swarm of two legs, and Roostertail's story of a rogue that stole secrets from a ghost went right over her head since she was too impressed with how the rogue knew the sun was going to blink and how they had magic. Rainbow Star took her training when Roostertail got sick and eventually died, and she was named at 14 moons old for her integrity, almost immediately reporting a clanmate for breaking the code. She was also finding comfort with Rowancaw's company after Caribou Speck's death, which makes sense as Rowancaw mentored him, and in general, it's nice seeing some of the younger kids interact with their new stepmom. And the last of the litter is actually in the apprentice den, so let's head in there. Loyal, constantly climbing Hickory Paw is still an apprentice at 15 moons old. As a kid, she got a badger ride from Cliff Creek and was finding Sushi annoying. She was excited to be an apprentice and was given to the deputy Fawnfoot. They went out hunting, and while it did start raining, they had a good, successful hunt. She does seem to like Fawnfoot, as she was telling another clanmate how Fawnfoot did a great job. And on one moon, she was staring off into space, and then had a bad fall getting bruised. All of these siblings keep tripping, I swear. She was learning how to gather moss from Fawnfoot, and then later Minnow Spirit was fetching her for Fawnfoot while she was stuck in the medicine cat den. She had to leave a kitty pet behind when Bumblebuzz said no, and then her dad died. Pike was so important to her, how could the world be so cruel? She trembled and tore at her nest, ending up taking moons to grieve, as she wondered if he suffered or was scared. She also got caught in a downpour that day. Later, the cat that Syndicquil invited actually gave her some heather, and possibly said some words that helped because she wasn't grieving after that, and was thinking about how cool it would be when she was a warrior with Toadpaw. Then she missed a rabbit with Fawnfoot and the cat I keep mentioning. Probably because the patrol was tense with the fact Fawnfoot disliked that cat. And then she caught White Cough, and with the combination of Hickory Paw grieving and getting sick, combined with her mentor in and out of the medicine cat den too, I'm not surprised that she hasn't graduated yet. She did get better and actually went out alone, where she helped guide a lost Moss Clan apprentice back home. And apparently the clan was also targeting Toad Freckle for something that Hickory Paw was calling out. She was also snuggling against Downey Pelt, which is adorable, and now onto Rainbow Star and Syndicquil's kit. Meet the 11-moon-old responsible Houndpaw, who is a restless sleeper, and that generated on its own in-game despite not being related to Rainbow Star in-game, so I'm very surprised. That trait means that she will either be a strange dreamer, dreamwalker, or dream shaper. We shall see. As mentioned, Syndicquil's sister Crested was the surrogate, and Houndkit was brought home in a storm. She was whimpering in her sleep, and it was discovered that at this point she can travel through dreams, though as of now she doesn't really have control. Syndicquil was comforting her after a hard day, and then she was feeling motivated. Daisy Billow could also tell how brave she was, and Figgle Moff heard the truth in her words as she talked about protecting others. She was chasing fireflies around camp while other warriors slept, and I prefer to read that as she was doing that in dreams because it was fun. Then she was telling on another kit for climbing too high and pranking Sneeze Tuft, but she was also making sure not to be in anyone's way. She actually started Righteous when she was apprenticed to Milkhair and was wondering if clouds are as soft as they look. They ran into a kitty pat in their first patrol, and I think instead of outright saying no, Milkhair described clan life in a way that made the kitty pet say they didn't want to join on purpose. And I drew an OC cameo there, but that's where we met Cubby in-game. Houndpaw felt she had so much to learn, and Milkhair praised how quickly she picked up fighting techniques, causing her to return to camp fluffed up with pride. She was volunteering to watch kits, probably in reference to Rowancaw and Sushi's future litter. And as mentioned, she and Cliff Creek don't get along the best, and at one point a clanmate did accuse Houndpaw of copying one of Cliff Creek's jokes. Right now, Houndpaw is getting the clan princess treatment, and I can see why Cliff Creek would be jealous. But onto the Chestnut Sneeze litter. Starting with the 11-moon-old Eelpaw, who is quick-witted and a lover of stories. And he was a know-it-all kit who got scared after a nightmare, and I wonder if Houndkit ever ended up in the dreams of the kits in the nursery with her. He got scolded after sneaking out of camp and wanted to get to know Pike better. He wished other cats had stopped babying him and then got apprenticed to Daisy Billow, where he was actually pranking her dad on that same moon. He ended up stealing a rabbit from Moss Clan on his first day out, which I don't know if he knew was over the border. He was dreading apprentice duties and then playfully butting heads with Daisy Billow after watching Goats, and then was gossiping. And none of this sounds strict, but he's been strict in-game this entire time, apparently. At one point, Caribou Speck told him that he reminded him of himself when he was young, and Eelpaw was explaining a joke to Sneeze Tuft. Bumblebuzz kinda hates him, but Bumblebuzz dislikes the youth, it seems. But yeah, he's honestly pretty silly despite being labeled strict, so I'm interested how he ends up when he gets his name. Now on to his sister. Droplet Paw is bold and quick-witted. She was a fearless kit and was trying to force her way into being allowed to guard camp. But then she was frightened by a scary story. She was also watching drama unfold with Chestnut Wolf, so that was pretty cute. She started daring as an apprentice and was silently swearing to StarClan to do her best as she touched noses with Syndicquil. Small blood warning in 3, 2, 1, but with the two being who invited that injured cat into camp despite the orders not to. And the picture's gone now. That has been the talk of the clan. She was wondering what living with two legs was like, perhaps since Syndicquil is an ex-kitty pet. And she was laughing under her breath at some grouse doing a silly mating dance and was mocking the stupid birds for lowering their guard, with her leaping over confidently and getting a grouse foot to the face and a beak bite. Once she was healed from her scrape, she went and asked Moral Nudge for some advice, and hopefully the grouse incident humbles her a bit, but she's a little fireball of a cat. And her name Droplet was probably her parents naming her after drizzle lights. That's very cute. But on to the last cat in the clan right now. Emerald Paw is charismatic and an avid play fighter. He was a charming kit who liked to help others. He's actually started as a vengeful apprentice when he was given to his aunt Leopard Spots, and on his first day out, he successfully scented Squirrel. And despite Leopard Spots gently prompting if he remembered how to navigate the leaf litter, all it took was one misplaced step to scare the squirrel away, as he watched disappointed. One day just wasn't his day, and Leopard Spots noticed him acting down and asked if there was something she could do to help or if he wanted to talk, but he shut it down, muttering a request to focus on trading. And I wonder if he saw his cousins in Viper Clan who seemed to be rejecting that they had kin in other clans at that time. Or it could be about the fact his mom was acting off since Brave Hal had died. Chestnut Wolf did later send him away after he had a small injury since she was too busy with other patients. Later he tested the wind correctly, identifying that because of the wind, he needed to approach the thrush from the other side, impressing Swansong, who was leading that training session. Then he wondered if he could kill a fox all by himself, and please chill. He was in awe of Minospirit's conflict resolution skills, and then failed to drive a small dog away, so maybe that's a no on if he could kill a fox. At least for now. Also, as a kid, he would save the funniest jokes for Bumblebuzz, but later he apparently lied to his face, and Bumblebuzz was annoyed by his ego, so that's a sad development. But that's everyone in clan for now, so let's look on everyone outside. Starting with Ice Dash, who is 92 moons old, and she's been lost the entire year, basically. Before that, she was a bit annoyed, possibly due to Moss Clan being more secretive, and then she was just stolen by Two Legs. Rainbow Star was not able to reach her, perhaps since she seems farther than the others. She was feeling anxious and then was shaken up by a nightmare that she couldn't wake up from. We searched basically all year, but just couldn't find her. She was hoping the clan was doing okay without her help, and towards the end of the year, she thought she saw her clanmate, but it was just a loner. So hopefully she's getting close. And sadly, due to the amount of time she's been gone, she did indeed get fixed. But on to a new face. This is Nook. She was a 108-moon-old compassionate she-cat and is apparently a trusted advisor. She was found by Syndicquil and Droplet Paw with a torn pelt and then brought a bunch of prey back with Rainbow Star, who also secretly searched her dreams to determine that she wasn't a threat, though she is the mother of a rogue. His name was originally Holly, but upon secretly joining Moss Clan, he took on his mom's name as well, going by Nook Holly. And that's why a bunch of cats don't like her, but she did give Hickory Paw Heather and seemed to have a good time. Rowancaw asked her a simple question, which she reacted strangely to, and despite Rowancaw trying to hang out with her telling stories, she was still uneasy knowing that her son was why her mom's clan was targeted. With Rowancaw feeling eyes on her back and being disturbed when she saw Nook looking away quickly. And then Nook was surprised by the hurtful things Rowancaw could say in an argument, which was after Caribou Speck was killed by rogues. Nook's laugh apparently reminded Milkhair of someone she missed, and I wonder if it's Drizzlelight. Every muscle in Fawnfoot's body was tense when Nook was around, and she eventually convinced Rainbow Star to kick Nook out. Nook was also wanting to get closer to Syndicquil, so as of now, I'm saying she's living with or around his sister, the kitty pet Crested. I coded Nook as outside the clan, not exiled, so there is a chance she just joins again. We'll see. Speaking of the rogues though, Spinel is now 69 moons old, and he was wondering if he had a purpose and was exploring the land beyond GalaxyClan. Probably Moss Clan, since that's when the rogues were in their camp. Then later he was cursing GalaxyClan. Not too much with him, admittedly. I will mention I made a side clan file of the rogues, just in case the rogues have babies or new mates, but there was no babies this year. Nothing too interesting happened this year beyond the rogues have a new healer named Cherubi Branch. Moving on to the 57-moon-old Basil, She was thinking bitterly about her former clanmates and exploring as well, and she was enjoying putting her hunting skills to the test on the same moon that Caribou Speck died. And he's a cat that she didn't like, so she was one of the cats that sadly killed him, but beyond that, nothing much. Stoneshell was lurking in GalaxyClan territory, and as usual seems mostly focused on things like thinking about wanting food and shelter, but she actually does have a crush on Basil of all cats, and girl, please don't do that. In the J-Clan save, she might have also been trying to recruit a cat named Branch Muzzle, but in general, the rogues are struggling bad this year. Clans have been finding rogues that died in the snow, but other clan specifics will be gone over in their sections. Bubbling Mark actually became a mediator this year, possibly to try to keep in better contact with Rowanka or to feel more needed, as she doesn't seem to enjoy being a mediator much despite choosing this. She did some shipping and tried to get Thunderstar to not hate Minnie as much, and she was also thinking about kits a lot and collecting trinkets for some when none existed in the clan. She attempted to ask out Rainmask but got rejected, and then had a nightmare of the entire clan looking to her for help. And I do think Rowanka decided to have a litter with Sushi so fast so Bubbling Mark would be able to see them. Hopefully. Now as for the 88 Moon-Old Wastar, he recovered from White Cough and officially became mates with Slipdon this year in the least showy way possible, by combining their nests into one. He led a successful rat hunt and was doing his best. His warriors have been suggesting sharing prey with the rogues to avoid being targeted, and he is very much against that, and keeps telling them no. He also led a patrol that chased a group of them out towards the end of the year. He's been being mediated with a warrior Stepdusk who has half-clan kits, and he also has a 4-moon-old kit right now named Hairkit, and basically, the moment she was born, he ran to the border to go tell his sister Renoise. She's the clan princess right now in J-Clan, and somehow ended up at the Viper Clan border, where Viper Clan went to help, but left hearing a J-Clan patrol. Unfortunately, Wastar took this the wrong way, and was watching them leave with anger. Concerningly, Bluestar was thinking about walking in Wastar's dreams, and I will also mention Mistledust died outside the clan this year too. Also, his mate Slipdon has White Cough, and I hope the Burdock curse doesn't get her. But as for his other daughter, Icicle Fleck is now 36 moons old, and she got attacked by a fox on patrol for dad, with Wastar comforting her. Unfortunately, her crush did get a mate, and she doesn't get along the best with that mate, so I don't think polyamory is an option. We did still try to mediate it, though. Also, at one point, according to the notebook, Wastar told her to shut up, but the next moon he was comforting her and saying that he'll always be there for her, so I think he just had an angry snap moment, but immediately apologized. She was daydreaming about how much there is to see in the world, maybe thinking about her sister Stoneshell, and she got a StarClan vision when Hairkit was born, and she doesn't seem to get along the best with her new little sister, considering she has 0 relationship bars in general for her at all. Perhaps her and Cliff Creek could bond over that. Hoping she has a better next year. Now, as for the positions of power, leader-wise, Rainbow Star is still here in GalaxyClan, but in Moss Clan, Thunderstar has passed. Micah Bird also died, so there's a brand new cat here. Meet Streakstar, formerly Streakbumble. But first, let's go over how Moss Clan dealt with the rogues. Hazyfleck and Buckfleck died during attacks against the rogues organized by Micah Bird, but on Moon 5, they did succeed in chasing them out, sadly with Micah Bird and a warrior Sunnose dying. Thunderstar seemed mostly to let Micah Bird handle this and was grieving his mate Spirejoy. He lost all his lives in a horrible snowstorm, and Daring Sneakstar with a keen eye became leader on Moon 10 of the year after barely being deputy. She didn't feel like she was ready, but she was promising to do all she could for the clan. Some notable life givers were 2 of her kits, Micah Bird, Hazyflick, Goose Lotus, and Thunderstar. She has an apprentice who is her kin of some kind, probably a nephew, but he's Rubblepaw with a missing leg. He's a fan favorite of the stream watchers right now, but yeah, we'll have to see how Streakstar does in this new position of power. She also hasn't really been in the clan that long in general. She joined at 59 moons old and she's 93 moons now. Also, I made her kin of Pinkie Pie, who was Oriole Chirp's mom, because she has the same white ear. And Bubbling Mark doesn't really like her, probably because she reminds her of Oriole Chirp. We already went over Wastar, so on to Frecklestar of Viper Clan. She's been grieving a lot. The dead Copperclaw was judging her, possibly for not catching on to who killed him. She got ambushed by a rogue, and Splinter Jumble, who is probably leading a possible murder group, is reveling in the battle. After this, Frecklestar decided no mercy on rogues, sending her cats to hunt and kill a rogue otter, who might not have even been a main problem. Viper Clan is showing no mercy at all. Unfortunately, the rogues aren't showing mercy either, killing many of her cats. She was hoping for a sign from StarClan the moon that Medicine Cat was murdered, and then she scavenged prey from a mountain lion. At the end of the year, she helped save an old dying kitty pet, and Frecklestar is 147 moons old now, and I fear her time is approaching. As for the Dark Forest, Butterfly Paw just lost a bunch of cats who are now just on their own little group in the Dark Forest, hiding from her. I will figure out who exactly on the Discord, and we'll find out if any of them go to StarClan, if they do anything against Butterfly Paw, we'll see. Deputy-wise, we still have Fawnfoot in GalaxyClan. MossClan's new deputy is Piper Arch, who is the son of a previous deputy, Antlerstock. He's 99 moons old and is a cunning, beloved kit-sitter. He also has some dislike for Streakstar, so interesting pick. On the moon that she was promoted to deputy, he was training with her, though. He was mostly hunting and training. He advised Tall Shadow about a StarClan vision and was setting a good example for younger cats, finding a kitten for the clan to raise at one point. He was looking forward to the next gathering once he was promoted, and then was struggling to settle down a patrol that was arguing. Overall, he's on the older side, so I don't know how long he'll be deputy, but I hope he does well. In J-Clan, Air Dancer is still here. She was having a lot of doubts and thinking she wasn't a good deputy, despite clanmates reassuring her. She was hunting and following Waspbar's orders of turning away cats in fear of rogue spies, and then she got caught in a storm, but luckily no one was lost to frostbite. Then she coordinated an attack against rogues without a second thought when they ambushed her large patrol, chasing them away. She's doing a lot better by the end of the year. In Viper Clan, Pigeon is still deputy. She's been fortifying camp and leading battle patrols. She got one of her kits as an apprentice and has mostly been chillin'. With Frecklestar's age, it's a race to see if Frecklestar is going to die or if Pigeon is going to retire first, so we'll see if we get Pigeon Star. As for medicine cats, GalaxyClan still has Scaleheart and Chestnut Wolf, with Daisy Billow and maybe Crane Dapple as possible future ones. As for MossClan, they found a new medicine cat at the end of the year, Model Iris, who is actually the daughter of Squirrel Dream, who was a Snip Cloud kit who spent a long time lost, as well as being in the Chris Drizzle family too, because it was kind of funny. She's 79 moons old, rebellious, and a former rogue, but it seems the healer group, not the evil group. We'll see. As for Minnie, she tried to ask out Hazy Flick, but got rejected twice before she died. Hazy Flick did not want more mates, it seemed. She gave Shard Ember some cicada wings and was padding back and forth across camp despite her legs still being injured. It did heal from the rat bite, but is permanently weaker now. She was hearing the voices of StarClan cats and had a dream of forgetting a secret once precious. After getting camp back, Nook Holly tried to join again, but she told everyone not to trust him as he did betray them, which got him kicked out immediately. She got into an argument with Tin Willow, blaming him for the lack of herbs, and then she was interested in taking on a new apprentice, possibly looking at Rubblepaw. Minnie is 126 moons old, and I hope she gets to retire. She also got blueberries, which I added to her flower. As for Tin Willow, he was thinking his brother Micah Bird was doing an alright job as deputy, despite all the failed attempts to get camp back. And he was hiding tears when comforting others about Micah Bird's passing. His other brother Tall Shadow was promising to stick by his side, and then they saw Micah Bird's spirit on patrol. Tin Willow also got rejected by Large Silk twice, so he's just not having a good time this year. In J-Clan, we still have Timmy, Mantis Breeze, and the newly named Wild Beam. Timmy was fussing over Bonepaw's infection as she grieved her now dead brother heavily. Sadly, she later would die to the broken back, despite everyone's best efforts and a long fight. He then was interpreting an omen after promising Wildpaw that he'd look into the one she got. He was actually a little less grumpy this year, laughing as warriors helped get cobwebs and look silly. He was also comforting Sparklemore, who seems to be overworking, a cat that he has a crush on. He did speak out a term at a clan meeting, but also trusted Wildpaw a lot, it seems. And he finally likes a colleague. He tried to explain the nature of StarClan to Garlicfall, but ended up confusing him. Then he got attacked by rats. Mantis Breeze was wondering if he would be better as a mediator instead, as he helped Magpie Freckle with a rat bite. Then he panicked after making a mess of the herbs, and then got heat exhaustion, but was still checking on warriors. He did briefly feel a presence on patrol, but the connection wavered. Then he caught White Cough and recovered just in time to try to help with an outbreak. As for Wild Beam, she was training very seriously, and as an apprentice, she had a dream of trembling stones. She took her brothers to get Blackberry and Raspberry with her, and then she got her full name, and she's been collecting moss with warriors. She mourned when Yellowcough killed her brother Patchouli Kite, and in Viper Clan, Swishgitter was murdered, who was yearning to fight and disappearing a lot, possibly helping an old kitty pet. She had a calm talk with Snipcloud, who was proud of Viper Clan's progress, but then she was killed by Peach Dance, an apprentice of Splinter Jumble. It seems they are trying to blame this on rogues to encourage hunting them down more. Living medicine cats, we have Pompomporin, Swamp Hopper, and Gullheart. Pompomporin was mostly chilling, collecting herbs with her mate Pigeon, and treating cats. She's 118 now, and may retire next year. Swamp Hopper was clearing paths and was a bit irritated with some cats. He was looking forward to a half-moon meeting and tossed a snake out of camp. He also fought off a group of rats. Cobalt Field tried to ask if he was fine on patrol, but he snapped at him. As for Gullheart, he struggled to bond with his kits alongside being a busy medicine cat, and then they found out the truth of their heritage. His sister was killed by a wolverine, and 2 of his kits were slain by rogues. He had a dream of a battle long ago and falling for the air, which sounds extremely similar to that time Swansong killed their grandparent. But he got daisies on his tail for something happier. This man is struggling, and it's a lot to deal with for a relatively young cat. Moorpaw is his only living son, and I'm trying to get them to get along better. Finally, our mediators. Ice is still lost, but GalaxyClan still has Minnow Spirit and Cliff Creek as least. In Moss Clan, we already went over Bubbling Mark, but Ashleap is here as well. She was grieving all the loss and keeping the injured company. She attempted to help Tin Willow with Larch Silk, and then she grieved Micah Bird. She tried to help Thunderstar and Minnie get along, and as I've said before, she's just a very empathetic cat. In J-Clan, sadly, Whistlepaw immediately fell into a sinkhole and died this year. Jacada Burst attempted to help out Icicle Fleck to no avail, and encourages Calypso to go for Snapfizzle. She accidentally made an argument with Lost Star and Stepdust worse over Stepdust Moss Clan kits. Then she rejected Raven, who is an actually pretty suspicious cat. She's lingering on the Viper Clan border to mediate and keeping Slipped on company. She also told Hairkit jokes all day. As for Magpie Freckle, she was attacked by rats which got infected, but she's fine. She was exhausted from mediating petty arguments since Lost Star and Stepdust need a lot of mediation. She mediated personal disputes with GalaxyClan easily, and then got attacked by rats again. She's been starting problems by starting them, such as reporting Twigbark for talking to a rogue. In ViperClan, we have Gorsefroat, Berry Chase, and the new Cicada Paw. Gorsefroat was doing his best and even got an apprentice. He's not happy with Splinter Jumble, and he's always disliked her. And then on a moon that he left to mediate with J-Clan, his mate Swishgetter was murdered. He grieved deeply, and he's not doing the best. Now, Berry Chase, on Moon 1, was touching noses with someone from GalaxyClan, and I think that was Adderstripe, who was trying to gain him as an ally, but he said no. And right after that, he ended up killing Coppercall. Then he was asking Frecklestar an important question, possibly about to be harder against the rogues, who might have been blamed for Coppercall's death. He decided to go on a dark path, not doing what he's told, and often siding with Splinter Jumble's group. I don't think he knows they killed his sister, though, and he grieved her hard. As for Cicada Paw, he was waiting to be a mediator and considered it his goal in life. He was mediating Gullheart and his son a lot, and apparently has a rival in Moss Clan. He's baby, I love him. And that's finally year 27 of GalaxyClan. Oh boy, so much has happened, I am screaming. Rogues are getting quite violent, and they really are a threat. They got chased out of Moss Clan, but it seems they hold grudges specifically on the Swansong family and Sushi Pike family. So many cats are on the train of let's just kill them all. Rainbow Star seems to be doing their best and even went against something Syndicquil did. Sure, it took many moons of their deputy complaining, but hey, something happened. I am concerned that Fawnfoot is bloodthirsty now, and both Hollowstar and Bravehowl got faded this year. Hollowstar was losing himself towards the end, enjoying the lawlessness of the Dark Forest, but he did try to target Butterfly Paw, which I will reveal he took an eye, which will weaken the powers of suggestive hypnosis that she has. Her empire was shaken by that event, and I look forward to the future. As for Bravehowl, she tried her best, but it doesn't seem she ever ended up doing anything, sadly. Rowancaw and Sushi are also going to have a litter next year, and I promise I'm turning them off having more. I just really wanted to give Rowancaw the chance if she wanted to carry a litter. I'm sad Pike died before this. Also, Chocolate Chip also died, and if you forgot who that was Midnight Lilac's kitty pet mate that was outside the clan, and Rowancaw was seen talking to her a lot, so that's sad. And we have so many new couples in clan right now. I'm afraid for next year. I predict a kitten boom, and we're still at like max cats. We are barely skirting by. Also look forward to new Pride designs next month, but thank you all for watching. As always, I have many links below, including Patreon and my Discord, and I will see you next time. Peace!